All right. So in this in this next topic, we're gonna piss off some people, mainly because it's a highly toxic topic from the week. But I'm also kind of done not offending people because I can't learn anything if I don't. Um, there was a strange phenomenon that occurred this week, Brewer. I don't know if you saw it, but apparently Tucker Carlson is not America First, or Tucker Carlson is not MAGA, as well as Candace and Nick Fuentes. And there was this all of a sudden surge out of nowhere of Jewish people, Israel supporting people, right? Some of them more than likely paid, completely trashing Tucker for giving a platform to Nick Fuentes. Did you pick up on any of that this week, or was that just a me thing?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. And yeah, I'll just say that right now. Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. I wanted to get into a couple of just kind of how it unfolded. So I found maybe the best way to present this was how it was delivered in the algorithm to my timeline, right? So it started
Okay.
off with Mark Levin. Do you know who Mark Levin is?
Uh, I recognize the name, but honestly, I haven't dived deep into him at all.
He's like a conservative or Republican news host, to the best of my understanding.
Oh,
Um, Jewish supporter, but I used to watch a lot of his takes, and a lot of his takes were really good, right? It's they focused on America, they focused on what I was hoping the message was. Like, you could be a bad person and still have the right message, right? And I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just using that as kind of a way to look at the situation. But do you think that someone of a conservative movement would say something like what we're about to listen to?
And I just want the anti American, anti Israel, anti West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it. And
That
yeah, I did hear that originally. Yeah.
What does this say to you? Because I think that it means something different to me now in trying to do a podcast and in trying to talk about conversations that I think could use some more communication around. What?
Yeah, to me, it sounds like that they are saying that, how do I say, they're controlling the narrative. They want to censor. They like if you speak out against or try to engage them in the free marketplace of ideas, they're going to come after you because you're not fitting into their narrative. That's kind of how I see that.
Is there weight behind that open threat? It's not a weak veiled threat. That's just a, hey, you're gonna have to come through us. We control this. If we can we look at the legitimacy of those claims. Let's look at Hollywood, right? If you go to Fairfax, Hollywood, the city, just like Los Angeles, Fairfax, Los Angeles, right?
Hmm.
It's Orthodox Jews. So that's where I think some of the stereotypes of Jews owned the entertainment industry came from. But we also know that APAC has a lot of influence in the political sphere. And we
Hmm.
also know that the United States and Israel have been pretty much lockstep because we shared the same common goal of like, hey, these Muslims are trying to kill Israel, or they're trying to attack other people. Are we
Okay.
are we we're still on a general understanding on that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So if they owned media, and I guess the easiest example to point to that kind of bridges the gap between media and new media would be the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro has come out with some interesting takes, and I would encourage everyone to go watch the video that the interview he does with Megyn Kelly talking about Tucker Carlson. And while I think it's fine for all these people to have their beliefs, this is kind of, it's destructive for the MAGA movement, or just getting anything really done in the Republican sphere. But I also,
that's the point.
You see, I kept I kept myself quiet in a couple of posts that I saw this week. There are a couple of responses that you said, and the messaging for this entire thing that we will unpack in a minute, it mirrors the exact same pattern as what the left used. Exactly the same, because all of these, like this video and the fallout from it, results in people saying, "Oh, you're an anti-Semite, you hate Jews." That's not true. I think in one of the posts that I responded to someone trying to talk about stuff, it's like, I have generally an open posture to most positions. You know, like you could say, "Oh, Israel is in this position." I generally would have an open response, or being able to listen to that. But this random shit out of nowhere is pushing me away from wanting to support them. What's the word? Unquestionably, without doubt, without saying, "Hey, like, maybe we should look at this." But the second that anybody has done this, they get instantly slammed, especially online, like the new media influencers and all that.
Well, it kind of goes to show that is significant and very strong evidence of the saying, those who control you are the ones you're not allowed to critique.
So we know that Ted Cruz jumped on the wagon. I don't need to cover Ted Cruz because that's easy enough to, you can just go watch his stuff. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense surrounding this particular topic. But everyone this week lost their mind. And so we have Brandon Tatum saying Tucker is not MAGA. He seems to be, I generally would have thought him to be in alignment with most of the stuff that I think and see. And I'm curious as to, this makes me think that maybe, just maybe, this influencer is receiving money from someone related to AIPAC, or in some realm, because there was that post that was floating around that people were getting $7,000 to make posts. Well, clearly I'm not getting that money yet, but, you know, like I said, you know, I'm an expensive whore. But it doesn't make sense for someone who I thought was pretty reasonably in like the conservative America movement saying that Tucker's not MAGA. We'll start off with, do you think Tucker is MAGA or not? And what is MAGA to you? What's your understanding of it?
Well, as I'm someone who reads the text for what it is. I don't like to imply or read much more into it.
Mm-hmm.
If it is "Make America Great Again," and that is the end of that statement, then yes, Tucker is absolutely MAGA, because he is constantly talking about putting America first.
Well, but Tucker will go and have an interview with Vladimir Putin, and he will bring Nick Fuentes onto his show and talk to him.
So, but having a conversation does not make you not America first, not wanting to make America great again. If you are, because here's the thing about it is, how do I say this? Of course, I'm trying to be very careful, especially now with what I'm going to say. Like, speaking specifically where he went to interview Putin, if you are unable to even talk about a subject matter because it involves a certain individual, without becoming vilified, it is actually creating, how do I say this? It is giving validity to the other person. Because if you are constantly talking down, talking bad, vilifying, labeling with Nazi or anti-Semite or Islamophobe someone because you don't like what they're saying, that means you have a fear that other people are going to believe them and are going to follow suit, which means there has to be, at least to some level, a modicum of truth in what they are saying. Because if what they are saying is a lie and you can prove it, then why are you scared? Why are you going to such lengths to try to prevent someone from saying something? That is how I approach a lot of situations where I begin to see people being vilified, because more often than not, and at least in my own life experience, that I say this. Those who speak the loudest are the ones who are trying to hide the most.
But speaking loud is
So,
effective.
yes, but they are all but they are still trying to hide the most. If you cannot have a conversation in the open marketplace of ideas, and the only way that you can become effective is to scream at the top of your lungs to force people to hear you, because otherwise they would not engage in that idea.
Mm-hmm. The sensationalism of it.
Yes. Then what you were trying to say may not be necessarily be in their interests, best interests. I mean, there are always, examples of the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh, I mean, yeah, that's saying like the exception proves the rule, but the exception is not the rule.
correct.
Right.
So it's just kind of just the fact that there are this many people coming out and trying to vilify someone who at one point was basically the darling of the right.
He still is. I don't believe that this is organic at all.
No, it's not. I firmly believe that just because he is talking anti-Israel, that he is now becoming public enemy number one within the right movement, the movement of the right.
Okay? So this is what doesn't make sense to me, right? I think that we can reasonably say that the overlapping reason for this has to do with Israel and Israeli influence. I mean, that's the only thing that really fits what's going on with this specific topic.
Yeah, well, there's something that a lot of people are beginning to wake up to. I don't want to use that term very well, but it's the best thing I can use right now, is not necessarily the fact of who Israel might actually be, which I'm making no claims, but more the fact that the youngest generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha right now, are vehemently turning away from Israel.
Well, you can see that in the college campuses. They're asking questions, like even Ted Cruz and all of them. They're asking intelligent, smart questions, and they're not being dissuaded by the same level of bullshit. That's promising.
Mm-hmm. So whether or not you think that Israel is good or bad for this country is I don't want to say irrelevant to the discussion here, but it's more of the fact that because of the supposed anti-Semitism that is growing within this country, which is the wrong label to use.
The way to grow it is to say that it exists, just like they did with racism.
Yeah. But I mean, the point I guess I'm trying to make here is that there are more people that are becoming out as anti-Israel and beginning to look at history and beginning to realize that perhaps the history we have been told and have been taught is not legitimate. Okay. And there is a dramatically increasing movement right now to re-examine some of the happenings of World War II. I'm not going to go into much difference in that.
That's too
it's just
far.
In general, people are asking more questions, like you said. And this is making Israel extremely nervous because the moment that the general populace, at least at critical mass, reaches the conclusion that maybe some things that happened during World War II that we are being told is not the actual truth, and the amounts of information and evidence to support that becomes more well known and mainstream, that Israel will soon no longer exist. That is it. That is the fear of Israel right now.
So,
So, yeah.
so if that's true, then the decisions that they're making are accelerating that timeline. Because I mean, you have to talk equal opposite reaction. Essentially, the people that they're creating from this specific scenario, I think, are going to create groypers. People are going to say and do whatever the fuck they want because just like everyone else is seeing, it doesn't matter. You can do pretty much whatever, and there's no accountability for anybody except for like the rare occurrences. But that's so rare, you just they're driving people
Yeah.
away, and that's where it seems forced. And that's where I think that maybe you mentioned it. Like even in the Bible, it's like everyone will turn their back on Israel at some point.
Mm. And it's almost as if they're trying to
It
get
look
to that
it
point.
looks intentional, and that was wherever I thought of like the week or two ago, whenever we played that video of the guy asking if there was plans to rebuild the temple. You remember that
What
clip?
was vaguely?
It
Go ahead.
was it
Let's
was
say it
with
again.
Catherine Levitt in like the press briefing room, and it was this Orthodox Jewish guy with his. It looked like a Jewish guy, and he was like, "Hey, is there any plans for Trump to rebuild the temple?" She's like, "No, haven't heard that."
Okay.
I'm saying that's just where my mind, that piece lined up with kind of what you were saying. Like if this was biblically, it looks kind of intentional, and I can't understand why. I was trying to understand why you would do this intentionally. Do you have any idea why?
Yes, but that's a rabbit hole, a very deep rabbit hole. Um, within the book of Revelations, I don't remember the exact chapter or verse, or no, it wasn't the book of Revelations. Was it the book of Paul? Well, something about where Jesus is quoted calling the Jews the synagogue of Satan, or the synagogue of Satan would rise, or something along those points. I can't remember the exact phrasing. And within the Christian religion, at least, um, one interpretation of it is that the Jewish savior is the Christian Antichrist. And trying to think how to say this.
I think I understand where you're starting with.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I had to go cycle through my mind and think about this for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the whole synagogue of Satan thing, is that Zionism is believed by some to be an actual religion of Satan, in that they are presenting themselves as Jews when they are not actually Jews, to bring about the Antichrist by using the biblical principles in the book of Revelation. And as well as, the Paul, where I believe he talked about, kind of what would lead up to, the Antichrist becoming to earth, which would then eventually lead to Jesus' return. But the synagogue of Satan, of course, does not believe that Jesus will actually return. And so they are trying to bring about the world turning against Israel, because that's when they believe, because they are the quote chosen people, that God will intervene and destroy the rest of the world, leaving the children of Israel to be
1,000 years of
basically
prosperity.
1,000 years of prosperity, bring in the yeah, like what you said, their utopia.
And
So
then it's even after that utopia that they finally figure it out. Interesting.
that is one avenue, or one rabbit hole that kind of may describe what's going on, whether or not, it's truth of the matter or not, I don't know.
It's
But
you and me came to pretty much similar thoughts, just because I didn't engage with you at all this week about this stuff, and we still kind of ask similar questions, and I find that interesting. Because I'm not saying that it's the case, but I'm saying there's enough pieces to say that there's a story developing here over something like that.
yeah, it's,
Because
I mean, kind of going back to the, go ahead.
I'm saying let's just think Bluebeam, right? That comment.
Well, I've been seeing some interesting things about that.
Actually,
I can't. Yeah.
I don't want.
Go ahead.
I shouldn't have done that. I don't want to get too far off because of Bluebeam.
Well, let's talk about it at the end because there is some things that happened with that. But let's focus on what
we're actually
about
we've
now.
already shifted to it. Let's just go ahead and do it. Update on Bluebeam.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, there have been a lot of channels that I've been seeing. Some that have a decent amount of following, let's say 100,000 plus, as well as I forget the guy's name, the older guy, the scientist that used to be part of the astronomy, like head up the astronomy department at Harvard, has come out saying that that the 3i Atlas is acting in a way that has never been seen before at any kind of celestial object.
Uh-huh.
It supposedly has increased in speed, but it has not lost the mass that would be required to increase the speed. There is no tail on the comet, which every other comet we have ever seen has always had a tail when it reaches the perihelion close to the sun, which would then excite and heat up the surface of it, which could cause an outgassing, which would increase or at least change the trajectory of the comet. They're not seeing anything involved in that. It has also changed colors 4 different times, and the current color which is being seen is green. That is significant because of the type of carbon that is required in the comet. Is believed, I don't remember how they figured this out through some kind of spectrographing or whatever, is very deficient of. It should not have changed to the color green because by their scans or however they see this and make the determination is that it does not have the carbon capacity in order to change the color to the green. So that's just one part of the many things that I saw. But I also saw the fact that supposedly, again, I can't verify this, I haven't been able to verify this because NASA's being quiet, that there is an object that is directly between the comet and Earth, heading toward Earth.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if anything with that is going on. Again, I haven't been able to verify that.
Can I look up in the sky and verify this for myself with a telescope?
Yes. There have been independent observers who have come out, as well as streamers who are astronomers, amateur astronomers, have been recorded live taking a look at the comet. One used a solar telescope, supposedly for the first time ever, to, yes, Avi. Yeah, what Ace said, Avi Labab. Yeah,
okay.
That's him. The streamer took his solar telescope, which is used to look at the sun, and was able to zoom in on the comet when it is, very close to the sun. Because it's technically not going directly behind the sun. It's just that of course, the sun's illumination eliminates the possibility for a non-specialized telescope to actually look at the comet when it's on, the other side of the sun, because illumination and whatnot. But so yes, there are people who are taking a look at the comet. Is actually a worldwide exercise right now for the first time from my understanding, ever been happened, where they are, quote, activated the planetary defense system, which is nothing more than, to the best of my knowledge anyway, pointing all of the observatories on the planet at one specific object, Atlas.
Plus drawing everyone's attention to one place. It's a good setup.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're
And the fact,
if you're hold on,
yeah,
I'm going to push back hard on this because
please.
um, there seems to be merit saying that I could go get a telescope and go observe this for myself.
Not very well right now, but yes, you could.
So I can go see something in the sky, but will that something indicate all of the things that they have said or just the current state of what they have said? So this is
Also,
verifiable?
well, I mean, I don't have the capacity to verify it myself firsthand because I don't have a telescope
Right, and
that,
that's why I said if we had a telescope. If we had a good
if we had a
telescope,
telescope,
we could prove we
yes,
could
we
say
would,
yes, this is
we,
real.
yes. The amount of data that I have seen from different sources, the different people talking about it, the fact that I mean, just focusing on one aspect, the comet doesn't have a tail anymore. It had an anti-tail while it was going toward the sun as it made its way around Mars or passed by Mars. Um, they've never seen that before. And what I mean by an anti-tail is that there was a tail or a outgassing of some sort pointing
Yeah, it
towards
looked like
the
the tail.
sun.
It looked like the tail was in front of it. I saw an image like that,
Yeah.
but I guess like the setup to all of this stuff is I haven't seen any verified scientific evidence of this. This is just, hey, there's this image. This isn't normal. Everybody, there's something going on
Avi
here.
Lovob, like what he was talking about, the guy mentioned, which is the used to be the leader or in charge of the astronomy program type at Harvard or some kind of lab at least. I'm not 100% sure.
Uh-huh.
Um, he has been coming out talking extensively about the fact that this is highly probable to be some kind of object that is under some kind of intelligent control. He has said that there is a 40% chance, this is before the comet went quote unquote behind the sun, that there's a 40% chance that this could be or is likely to be a um, alien spacecraft of some sort.
So the first
Um,
experience of encountering an alien aircraft. If an alien came to Earth and it had superpowers, we would believe that, right? And we'd revere it as a god.
I see where you're trying to go with this, and I don't know. Um,
What's
the well,
the uh cultural background of Avi Liab? I find something very interesting whenever I look that up.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, go ahead.
He's former, supposedly, Mossad. And because I did look into this.
Hmm.
And whenever he became the leader of the organization that is currently, has access to all these different telescopes and everything else, he started bringing in a lot of other individuals who were former CIA, former FBI, former Mossad into this organization.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So
Like, I think that that's
there's a
fine, and I mean, I'll approach this topic from you're gonna have to prove it, and I'm gonna have to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt with my own eyes and hands before I would even consider it. It smells like high heavens that this is something funny.
Yeah, and to kind of further the point, Tim Pool has actually talked about this a bit, and I saw he released I think it was from his like actual podcast that he released this from, where he talked about the refraction of lasers, because you know how you take a laser pointer like one you have for your cat, you point it on the wall, you only see the dot on the wall, you
Yep.
don't see the light of the laser unless you have dust or something go in front of it where it refracts the light. But if you take two lasers and point them at each other, they will refract off each other and you will have a point in space
Mm-hmm.
that's just floating there. So you can maneuver these lasers around with precision where you could create a dot floating in the air that you would not know otherwise where the source is coming from. So you could, in theory, if you had enough of these lasers, create a voxel that at a distance wouldn't really be able to be seen. And for those who don't know what a voxel is, a pixel is a 2D representation on your monitor. A voxel is a 3D representation of a pixel.
Wouldn't that require 3
So
lasers then?
it would require more than 3 lasers.
Okay.
But I'm kind of quoting Tim Pool here. He's using it as an example
Sure.
of how this could work. So you have however many lasers it takes to create possibly a very large spacecraft to be, hovering over the planet or the sky. And they could somehow, whether it be by like satellites that they have in space, create, this illusion. But to further create the illusion, are you aware that they now have technology to have sound emitted from lasers?
I don't see why not. I mean, a laser is just a wavelength or a pulse.
Yes. So what they have done is using the exact same laser, type of laser, they have the ability to point a laser against a brick wall and have speech come out of the pinpoint of the laser. And they can also use that same laser to irradiate a target, a person, where they begin to feel uncomfortable, and like there's little needles poking into their skin, which makes them wildly uncomfortable, which will have the instant reaction to make the person get up and leave. So, I mean, I say that to say to the point that there are multiple different types of lasers that they can employ in order to create something like this. So you could actually have, in theory, a spacecraft or illusion of a spacecraft where you actually hear a whoa, 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 or something coming from the spacecraft. But because it's so high up, you can't physically touch it. You wouldn't be able to verify if it's a physical thing or not. But your other senses would everything would be telling you that exists, that is real, outside
Well,
of touch.
you'd need to see it. So there could be a hologram. You'd need to hear it. Smell probably wouldn't be that important. That would be helpful just
No.
because of how strong the smell is. Like if there could be a stench that exudes from the craft, that would create a memorable component because of how attached your sense of smell is to your brain.
You just connected a dot for me.
Oh, good.
So, all of the aerosols and everything else, the chemtrails or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a high amount of energy irradiating a single point in space, of course, it's going to excite the molecules and it could actually create a smell. It's because we don't know 100% of what is being sprayed. I mean, they have come out, the American government has come out, the Secretary of Agriculture has come out and said that this is happening and we are investigating it. So if you have all these aerosols that are sprayed into the air, all of these, stuff that's floating around up there, what's not to say that they couldn't then irradiate the area to such a point where it might actually create a, heated effect that could, create some kind of smoke or stench that could come from it.
What if it's
I
methane?
mean, I'm talking completely out of my ass here.
Oh,
I'm just thinking this is a possibility.
It's just it's a fun, creative thought experiment. It's been really fun to kind of dig into. I do feel we've kind of gone really far off the rails.
Yeah, but we have, but we're doing it specifically because it is actually probable.
Yeah.
Well, it's
It's
probable
not,
because, yeah. I mean, because one aspect of course, you talked about it earlier, the Project Bluebeam, is that in order to create a one world order or government that is accepted by the world, you must create an enemy that will unite the rest of the world. And what better way to do that than to have some kind of extraterrestrial threat? And this has been talked about for decades at this point. And the fact that we have an intelligence asset that is going on TV and royally talking up the possibility that this just might be an alien spacecraft. I mean, I have a 40% chance currently. I don't know what it's going to be when it comes out of the other side of the sun in the next few weeks, but we have to wait until then.
Isn't it seems
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
just
I'm sorry, man. The
it's
whole story with aliens and shit, every time they bring it up, I think it's just to buy time and fill holes in a news cycle when they don't have something to bite.
you may be absolutely correct. It could all be nothing more than fluff and just a way, again, a grift in order to get eyeballs on something so they can make money. Yeah,
Right.
you're absolutely
Like
correct.
how many politicians come out, "Oh, I've seen stuff. They need to release it." Well, that's great. You got some clicks.
Yeah,
You
the
have promised this for decades. I'm sorry. No.
yeah. Well, you got to keep in mind though, because the amount of coverage that the release of information concerning UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, that has been done over the last few years is really odd. That now all of a sudden we had a previously undetected object suddenly appear a few months ago.
It's magic.
I don't I don't believe it.
No,
I don't believe that
it's light
if
speed. It came out of warp from Sector 9.
it, actually that of course we don't know. That could actually be something that happened. But with what I know, and I'm not elaborating, they would have been able to detect it earlier.
This seems in the same ballpark as Jewish space lasers.
Jewish space lasers, expand upon that a little bit.
It was just something that Marjorie Taylor Greene got dinged on a while ago. And again, the entire environment that we're operating in right now, is completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. Again, we'll have to see where that goes, but it's just interesting how we ended up in this rabbit hole just because of the Israel topic, because of the again, this conversation never would have happened if they wouldn't have done a huge social media push to cancel Tucker Carlson. I want to kind of pull us back in that direction.
okay.
And it actually works out because, we're talking about Blue Beam and like, we don't even know if that's real or not, but I wanted to address Dinesh D'Souza getting involved in the Tucker Carlson ban. And he's referencing that Tucker shared a story. I think he was talking to Megyn Kelly, and he was sharing like he had like this dream where he was like attacked by a demon. But Dinesh seems to take it into like the literal sense, leaving blood and scratches. Weird. What's going on here? Maybe he's lying. Like, why is he capitalizing this? And why is this happening at the exact same time that all of the other pro-Israel people are dumping on him and Candace and basically anyone that, you're not MAGA, you're not America first. Actually, you're not MAGA is the right way. But it's the same kind of. If you change who this is sent from and you change the name on it, change the name from Tucker to Trump, and change Dinesh to somebody on the left from the previous 8 years.
I see what you're saying.
It's the exact same pattern. It's the same cadence, same speech pattern, and I really like a lot of the content that Dinesh used to put out. He kind of fell from my attention sphere last couple of years, but this is maybe a reason why. I don't see under any circumstance, based on his logical approach to most things, he would be doing that. But the thing that I wanted to focus on was here. He started to engage with this person because don't focus on the person's name, but the person made the argument, Dinesh proudly announcing disdain for Christianity. He couldn't make it more clear. I always looked at Dinesh as a person of relatively openly honest with his faith. But my problem here is, again, if we remove the person and the name and we look at, I'm asking the question explored in The Exorcist, where is that demon? Why are we trying to compare a story that Tucker Carlson shared from something that I think only he could experience spiritually to a movie? This is kind of where it set it off to me, because of the same kind of arguments being made in the anime sphere. Oh, this is like a 2D anime character. It's not real versus a real girl. Except we're comparing something that was a spiritual experience that he felt himself with a movie. I don't feel like that's a great way to maybe make the argument. And it came across strange.
Disingenuous, maybe?
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to believe that about Dinesh, but I cannot deny the fact that this happened the exact same time frame that all of the other crazy, Tucker is bad, all that other stuff. Is this just an effort to demean Tucker to gain credibility? Or is he engaging this in a way that maybe I'm not interpreting? Because he does usually make good arguments and explains stuff usually pretty well in his episodes.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm confused about? It doesn't fit unless there's something else to it.
And he did say that maybe Tucker had a psychotic episode.
Exactly.
Which is within their own possibility, actually.
It's true.
But the framing of this is causing me to question, because the fact that Tucker was attacked so much, so hard, because he had on Nick Fuentes, or however you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
And now everyone, it's
a massive
I'm gonna have to
political
go watch that.
shift.
I'm gonna have to.
You should.
Yeah,
Absolutely should.
I think I'm gonna go. I mean, I was trying. I don't necessarily, seek out anything specifically from Nick or Tucker. I mean, if stuff that comes across my timeline, I'll watch it and take it for what it is. But I may have to go watch the entire interview now, because something was said and something was done. Because from what I understand, it was supposed to be it's a softball interview. And I do recall seeing something going across my timeline about how Nick actually said that he disagreed a lot with what Tucker Carlson was saying, but he respected Tucker Carlson because they were able to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, but people seem to be very unhappy with the questions that Tucker asked, because, he should have done it their way, what they wanted to do. I'm sorry, it's Tucker's own business. And I watched the interviews. I watched the one with Ben Shapiro talking to Megyn Kelly. I watched the one with Tucker Carlson talking to Megyn Kelly. I watched the one with Tucker Carlson talking to Nick Fuentes. I haven't seen a real reason, at least not something that's justifiable to me, of why it would even be reasonable for this level of propaganda. It looks like propaganda. I'm sorry, it just does.
I have nothing to say against that. I'm not going to make a statement for it, but I can say that I have no statement that it couldn't be propaganda. I'm going to have to take a look at actually watch that.
Yeah, we can revisit that next week, maybe, if you find something to bite on. But I think that covers go ahead.
Well, the thing about it is, though, how do I say this? The fact that they jumped on it so much, because they had already been talking down about Tucker for a little bit, but not to this extent.
Yeah, this was a new wave.
And so, but it happened after the interview with Nick, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So the only thing I could think of is that something was said by Nick that was allowed to be said, and that was platformed because of Tucker Carlson, that is now being spread wider. I don't know what that is. And so they are basically full stop trying or going out of their way and doing everything they possibly can, full force, to stop that from being spread further.
Well, that's
So, I mean,
that's
I'm
operating
saying,
that's operating purely on a hypothetical. I would encourage you to go watch it, and then we can revisit it.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. But again, that's like I'm saying this now because I haven't watched it, and I'm making an assessment just based upon what is being presented here by you and like what we've been seeing here, and to say that if I do watch it and I do come to that conclusion, there is something going on. There is absolutely a outside influence.
Oh, good, because I'm going to play some of it.
So, okay, go ahead.
So this is just Nick Fuentes presenting. This is, I think, what started a lot of the stuff, and I believe
Okay.
that the open source Intel channel is Jewish or supports Israel in a way, just because of the responses that in the comments sections of the videos that this person has been presenting. And they usually put out really good information, and it's fine for everyone to operate from their own perspective and their own their own bias, I guess.
These DC creatures, these consultants, these think tank nerds, these fucking dorks and losers, these out-of-touch theater kids and student council presidents, these fucking punks, they are miserable. There's a sense of dread. It has captured them because they know that MAGA is dead. It's dead.
He's certainly an entertainer. He has a very good camera presence and engagement, but he also looks kind of unhinged with just how he's presenting, but I'm sure that's part of his appeal and shock value.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why he's been able to grip so much of the younger generation, is because he doesn't hold back. Because what our generation and the pre-generations before don't really realize is that because we have been so reserved in things that we're saying, the way they presented information, that this is going to appeal to the rebellious next generation.
It's going to
because
appeal
every
to the youth.
generation rebels.
Yeah, it's going to appeal
to the youth because it directly conflicts with the norm, and which is what the angst teen feeds off of. So
I don't think Nick would have picked this much steam up if there hadn't been a power vacuum in the young vote.
so you're talking specifically about what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk had such an influence on the young vote that this never would have happened. This wouldn't have mattered. And I think his level of influence is maybe what got him killed. And then maybe they're trying to prop him up.
Who are they?
Israel, AIPAC, Israel supporting influenced people.
So they're trying to prop up Nick.
It seems backwards. I know it seems ass backwards, but if I don't, but that goes into them doing it intentionally.
Yeah, it's either one going along the same vein of that they are trying to turn the world against them. This would be, if that's their goal, they're doing a good job. Or two, it's the fact that they have, I think I made a post on this on X at one point, that they have lost touch with the youth, and they think that the old ways of trying to manipulate people is going to work.
Identity politics, and they're playing the same game. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. But it's backfiring because they just haven't realized that the identity politics doesn't work on the young generation. It works on our generation, but not the next generations.
Yeah, the younger generation,
they see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. Exactly. So, yeah, continue.
But if that's the case, then so what's becoming separated here is MAGA is being identified as America first and Israel first. And I guess kind of how we talked about earlier is America and Israel always kind of seemed hand in hand. We always had their back regardless. Most of the people that end up in politics say that too. We know that is accurate on many levels because even in what was the New York mayoral race, all of the politicians that were going were like, oh, well, how many times have you visited the Holy Land? And the only person who answered differently was, Mondani. So the fact that was a question for the New York mayoral race, that's
that did throw a red flag for me, and it does seem like it was propaganda, like that was there specifically for Mondani to make that answer because of the whole Palestine situation. And the fact that New York is so left leaning, like by tens of percents over the right, that they would ask that question and get those answers. It's that did seem really odd to me. The fact that all of them said that they would go to the Holy Land, to Israel,
Mm-hmm.
to and make the statements that they did. It just that was really odd.
That's not the only place that happens, though. That happens in a lot of elections and a lot of debates, I think, or a lot of like politicians running.
Yeah, well, I think speaking more to the responses,
Yeah.
because again, New York's left, New York City is left,
Well, they're
hard
yeah,
left.
but they're also all Democrat, right?
Yeah, but the fact that they, it's just the fact that they answered it that way, except for Mondani.
If they were to answer it that way, and they pay people on both sides of the political aisle, who's the person playing the pieces on the chessboard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about that. I mean, we could only speculate,
True.
but
What if the global cause is the Jewish cause? What if like the global framework for World Economic Forum is secretly a Jewish plot?
I was avoiding actually saying that out loud.
Congratulations.
Um,
Whoops.
well, not for any specific reason. It's not. I don't have any fear of anything happening. It's just if you really want to dive deep into this, I'm not saying to do it here.
It won't be today.
Yeah, but I'm gonna find a video and send it to you. It's gonna take me a bit,
That's fine.
but it actually dives into what the heritage of the children of Abraham actually is.
I know nothing about that, so that sounds very educational. I would look forward to that opportunity.
Yeah, and how like it goes from Abraham to Noah to his sons, and it talks about the blessing of Abraham and everything else. So that's significant to what is happening today.
Okay. Well,
So
you'll have to
I
send that to
will-
me, and then we
Yeah.
can follow up on that.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about talking about that, to be quite honest. I'm not nervous about a lot when we talk about, but that specifically, I'm a little nervous talking about.
I'll talk about it.
And
I'm
you'll
not afraid
understand why.
I'm not
when I
afraid to
find the
talk
video,
about it.
so-
Let's go.
So
I'm not afraid. Let's go.
yeah, I'll try to find it.
So, but yeah, Nick Fuentes, pulling us back to topic a little bit. He's very brash. Let's give him a little bit more.
It has failed. It is a disappointment. The mass deportations, they're not happening. America First foreign policy, they forgot all about it.
I don't know if both of those things are true. It's only been a couple of months. I think deportations are happening. I guess maybe the mass deportations, like, does that mean you're going to like uproot an entire city and move them? Because like,
And I think he's playing more into the fact that, the whole instant gratification thing you spoke to earlier.
Yep.
Like we're not seeing the results immediately, but one thing that Nick doesn't at least present himself to understand is the inner workings of a lot of these institutions and how in order to prevent the complete societal collapse, there are certain things you have to do in a certain time frame. At the same time, there's also the political chessboard and everything else. I'm not validating the fact that, some of the promises have not been kept 100% yet. But what some people don't seem to understand is that all the promises he made, he has 4 years to implement, him being Trump. So, and at the same time, you have both Republicans and Democrats getting in his way almost every single step of the way.
yes, but is his
So-
message effective? Even though he's
Yes, it's
not
very
being
effective.
completely genuine with how it's presented, it is effective
Yes, 100%.
because you're able to engage with people on the first thought that matters to them. We could probably be more successful if I was willing to openly manipulate people, but I see no interest in doing that.
Approval ratings in the toilet. Epstein files covered up.
True.
Blue wave just happened.
Yeah?
But the groypers.
Pause. No.
No?
The blue wave did not happen. The blue wave, everything that
He must be talking is he talking about the election blue wave?
the thing that, well, yes, but it in my opinion, it is not an actual blue wave. Every single place that got a Democrat reelected was already Democrat. They were already ahead in those places, and a majority of hold on, I am conflating thoughts here. In every place where Trump lost, so we're like a blue state, Virginia, New York, whatever. The percentage, because I actually went into Grok and did some research on this. In most of those places, a lot of them did vote for Trump, but they still voted for a lot of Democratic policies and a lot of other Democratic politicians. So all the places that, quote, went blue were blue to begin with.
Yeah. So it's nothing new. It's the messaging that you're talking about. They're able to, even he's willing to pick up on the message saying, hey, there was this blue wave. Actually, he was saying the blue wave, and did he say that it didn't happen?
No, it did happen, but hold on.
Just happened.
See? Yeah. So I don't think he's being disingenuous. He's parroting a talking point, which, I won't dive deeper into that.
But I mean, that's effective to maintain relevance,
yes.
to get seen, for your message to be presented. So.
Yes, exactly. So it's just, but I will say that everything, but in the fact that it's not being pushed back against very much, I have seen some pushback against the quote blue wave, but not much. And it's just,
I don't think anyone cares. Kind of like how you said it was like states that were already blue, and like, to be honest, I didn't know that the elections were going on in most of those places except for Scott Pressler working his ass off.
Yeah, him trying to flip everything red was significant, and if it had gone red, that would have been major.
Yeah.
But the fact that everything that was blue just stayed blue, to me, is not of any real significance. But they are talking about it as if because it didn't go red, it's a blue wave. It's just, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's almost disingenuous. Almost, not quite, but almost disingenuous.
Well, I guess with how Nick has been presenting the arguments just in the 41 seconds so far, I think that a first impression would be like, oh, this stuff sounds good. But as we're starting 100%. To kind of pick it apart, it doesn't sound as good because we're starting to ask more questions. It doesn't pass the stay test, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but okay. That's all I want to say on that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So the random hate for Tucker and Nick and Candace, I don't see it. I can see some of it for Nick just in how he presents the ideas, and he's willing to offend people, which I think the world could benefit from right now. So unfortunately, I think the world's going to go this direction. And I think that we're going to end up seeing the Groypers versus the Democratic Socialists in the future. Those are going to become the new Republican and Democrat parties, because all the ones that we have are old.
Yes,
I think those
the
are
old
going to
guard is falling away.
Yeah,
for sure.
The Groypers are going to be the new Republican Party. I think reasonably so, just based on the children coming up with their belief system, all of the crap going on in the world.
It might be one of the reasons why they accelerated so much is because they know in 10 years that his influence or the sphere of his thought is going to be so pervasive beside of the country that it's going to hit critical mass and they won't be able to stop it.
Well, they're going to attack
anybody.
Yeah, they're going to attack anybody that captures the young vote or the minds of the young voters.
Yeah, which ironically enough is only going to validate them more, and they don't realize it.
How could you not?
Which is one of the reasons why I think, for that exact reason, that it's by design. Not I think, but a possibility that it's by design.
It just seems crazy. Like, it seems so common, and I'm pretty sure even people in chat would agree that, like, It seems kind of obvious that would be like an end result. Kind of like if you spend your entire life calling your neighbor a racist, and then 40 years later he becomes a racist because he's tired of listening to your shit. Did you make him, or was he always a racist?
That's been my point that I've made multiple times since we started doing this podcast together. Is multiple times I have said that you keep calling someone something, eventually they will become it because they don't have a choice in the matter anymore, because the only way that they can survive is to embrace the label, because they can't do anything else because of that label.
Yeah. Well,
So it's
you know what? I accept it if people want to start calling me handsome, rich, and great in bed. You call me all those three things, like let's manifest that into reality. Let's go.
Well, you can go down the occult path of talking about how that actually happens, but let's not do that tonight.
Yeah. All right. So we got Heritage Foundation. I think the Heritage Foundation was really responsible for helping a lot of the political environment. The CEO came out and like supported Tucker sitting down and having an interview with Fuentes.
You're not showing on screen.
Oh yeah. And the chief of staff, who I believe is Jewish, resigned as a result. So like the Heritage Foundation itself is like being attacked, saying, "Oh, how dare you give time and attention to this other person?" So like it's not a little thing. Like how could they make such a coordinated, calculated push and not understand the effects? It like you say, it looks funny. I want to see how this kind of plays out, but this is just another angle to look into, because like none of this shit makes sense. There's no story to it. There's no narrative to it. It's just like, there's these things, go attack this person. It's not even like fluff anymore. You know, maybe Hollywood is dead. Who knows? But
Kind of makes me wonder if we're entering some kind of end game at this point.
Maybe. Because, I mean, once the stories stop, it just becomes action and movement, or there's just not enough manpower or time or resources to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything is pointing, everything, again, is pointing to that damn wall.
Yeah, but
And
the
I mean that
wall's
both,
always there.
you know. Yes, but it just furthers the metaphor, just furthers the point of it all. It's just kind of, I can't, how do I say this? Something's coming. I'll just say it that way. And I don't know what it is, but something's coming. And it's going to be very, very soon, I feel. But again, I'm not going to make any predictions on what it is or when it is. It could be a year or 2 years from now, for all I know. Soon is relative.
Okay, well, I'm
But
not
something is
gonna
coming.
accept the premise of something is coming.
So,
That's too broad. Something is always coming.
yeah, I see your point. I guess the context of which I'm trying to say is that something that is going to change our very way of life. I'll say it that way is coming. I don't know what, I don't know how, but something is coming. There's too many things from too many perspectives, from
Yeah.
too many different angles that are all pointing to that same outcome. So it's just like we're being primed
We're being led
something.
around like a liberal's nose ring.
by like by interesting analogy, but yeah.
I'm just teasing. All right. Well, I want to wrap up the day with presenting you with a morally difficult argument. Okay? I'm going to read this post. Well, I'm not going to really, I'm just going to give you the premise of the post, essentially. And I want people in that are watching or listening to ask themselves this too, and I'll try to present it in a way so it's coherent. This post says that allegedly 200 Hamas members were stuck, trapped, and captured in a tunnel by IDF soldiers. The government is trying to release them as long as they surrender their weapons. And the argument that they're making is these 200 people will leave their weapons there, but then come back the next day and try to kill them. What do you do in this situation? Do you kill the 200 or do you let them go, Brewer? Same thing for everybody that's listening or watching. What do you choose? If you were in this situation, you have 200 people in front of you that you know want to kill you and have weapons. Are you going to let them go and put their weapons down to let them come back and attack you tomorrow?
Suicidal empathy is going to be the death of the Western civilization.
This isn't even the West.
Suicidal empathy is still going to be the death of the Western civilization. And the mentality of the Western civilization is that of suicidal mentality, is that of suicidal empathy right now.
It seems like the most practical response that most people don't want to acknowledge is you would probably lock those people up in prison, or you would eliminate them. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah.
Those are the realistic options that you would have.
Well, I made, the statement some time ago that actually lost me a few friends, that if someone metaphorically unsheathed their sword at me, then they have already made the statement that they are going to try to kill me. By holding weapons and engaging in combat and then getting stuck in a tunnel, they have unsheathed their sword. Even if they drop the sword to go pick up another one to do the same thing,
But
what do you think I should do?
But if you take that approach, everyone's going to say that you're committing a genocide. And then based on recent historical evidence and situations, you might have an argument for that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't discount that. But at the same time, you go to New York and you have someone someone who's Muslim standing in Times Square, basically calling for a global intifada.
Interesting. So someone in chat shared a story. It says a farmer finds a snake freezing in the cold. Feeling sorry for it, the farmer puts the snake inside his coat to warm it up. When the snake revives and feels better, it bites the farmer. As the farmer dies from the bite, he realizes he should have known better. It was foolish to believe he could change the snake's nature, and he should have been cautious despite his pity. The story is a cautionary tale that warns against helping those who are inherently malicious or toxic. It suggests that some people, like some animals, have a nature that cannot be changed, and helping them may lead to your downfall. That seems to be a very good perspective to have on it. Very good metaphor.
Yeah. Which is what that story describes is the suicidal empathy. Is when you actually assist in your own downfall. Because it makes you feel good in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, ultimately, I would, at minimum, I will say, lock them all up. And throw away the key.
But if you lock them up,
don't outright kill them. But
hold on.
Lock them up.
If you lock them up, then they become reasons for them to be attacked, so they could do an exchange. Maybe they could do like a Brittany Griner for Merchant of Death deal.
That's why I'm saying at minimum they need to be at least prevented from being able to pick back up their sword.
How do you do that whenever it's infused in a culture already? Like let's say New York takes hold and the Muslim influence spreads. Outside of hard power, you don't really remove it because people are generally complacent, not paying attention until things get way worse and it's in their backyard. They aren't going to care.
That's actually been a talking point I've had on a couple of X posts, almost word for word, is people are not generally going to care unless it influences them directly. Because even in this small little town that I live in, most people have no idea what's going on in New York, what's going on in other places around the country. They just don't have a clue because they're not engaging in the public discourse in the same manner that you and I are. And until it's actually on their doorstep. Like you said, they're not going to care.
Yeah, but then they're also susceptible to whoever gets information to them first. So that's why getting that information out first and getting that first message is what matters.
Yes, which is why I occasionally will drop little snippets of information here and there around this town about kind of what's going on. Nothing too major or anything else, but if something does happen,
It wouldn't be foreign concept to them.
a completely foreign concept, and I will be someone like, wait, he's talked about this before. Let's go have a chat with him,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can inform them completely.
And you're sowing
So-
some seeds to have honest conversations later. I like that.
Correct. And how do I say this? That quote that I did at the beginning of last episode is going to become more and more apparent, because the men who just want to be left alone are going to realize that if they continue their current trajectory, it's a walk to extinction. So as things begin to get worse, there is going to be more and more, primarily men, who are going to begin to push back and begin to become more vocal, as well as actions are going to begin to be taken. It won't happen unless there is some kind of catastrophic 9/11-esque scenario that occurs. It's going to be very gradual. The problem is, what's going to happen first? Which mountain is going to be climbed first? Whether it be the spreading of the Islamic Caliphate beside the United States, or the men who want to be left alone are forced to act.
Well, see, that kind of gives me a chance to bring my final point to this topic, and I guess the episode too, maybe. I think that my understanding of the situation has changed to where I think that the far left, right, aligns mostly with the global initiative and the Muslim approach. Destruction, invasion, taking over, lying. And then I see the far right. The far right actually being the pro-Israel lobby. The censorship, the privacy, the control. I still cannot delineate whether it would be more advantageous for the Israel lobby or for the Muslim agenda. But I do believe that the privacy may actually belong under Israel, just given the patterns that they use to cover up the information that we've seen from the guy that got caught in a sting operation in Nevada that was on their Iron Dome team. The Epstein files, all the other stuff that gets covered up, the privacy, and that pattern seems to align better with them than it does the Muslims. So I think that,
no, absolutely.
And then the America First are the useful idiots who keep buying into the left or the right. But I think that maybe the pro-Israel lobby took the mask off for some reason. But then again, if that's the case, if this is the case, and let's say the America First, who's the American First going to go with? Well, there's a pretty strong argument for going Muslim, especially if you're presented with bad information, because the wives listen, they have discipline, they have community, they will act
I see your point.
violently. Why would you not want to convert to that?
Thinking through a couple of frameworks, you make a very fucking good point, and I don't like it. Those who have weaker wills will go with the stronger will, and the stronger will is absolutely on the Muslim side. You're absolutely correct.
Because we don't see Christians like kind of back to that video that I played in one of the other segments.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see us praying. We're not publicly displaying it. We don't have Christian flags presented anywhere, but we'll put LGBTQ flags on our fucking state buildings.
I am more inclined, I guess there may be some bias in here that I'm trying to circumvent, but I don't think a whole lot of the bias is in there. That I think that I think a possibility. There is a possibility that, like you said earlier, not everything is black and white, just left and right. I would not be surprised if a more moderate position, more moderate movement, maybe something called the men who want to be left alone, rise up and begin to push back against both sides. So you may actually have three separate movements that are all opposed to one another.
And it was just convenient that everyone sided with Israel in the past because of the narrative that was created and spun around the Holocaust, all the stuff in the Middle
Correct.
East, nuclear weapons.
So I will say that the youngest generation does not align with either side.
Nope.
That's one of the reasons why I'm thinking that there is going to be a third moderate position where they're basically just going to give the middle finger to both sides and saying we're doing things our way.
And that would be the
We don't
America
like-
that would be the America First movement as I understand it. The people who
Yes.
are tired of foreign influence, foreign money, making decisions and our lives worse just because they want to do something.
Yes, and then like that's primarily speaking from actually no, both sides, yeah. So there is going to be, or there is a growing moderate movement. It just they don't have a name. They don't have a. It's not as well organized yet.
See, this is my main problem. Like this situation, this conversation, exactly where we're at, is the primary reason to have a third party.
Hmm.
We have a government separated in three ways. Why can't we have a third party? The normal people, and then the two sides on each side that are the retards and the extremists.
Well, there's always been the argument. Again, I'm not agreeing with this. That if you have a third party, it will give actually more power to the party that has, more sway over the other two. So if it's like
I'm-
a
I'm-
30-30-40 type situation, I don't agree with it, but their argument is that you give more power to the 40 than you do the 230s.
Yeah,
Because,
but no.
technically it's true, but it does not, in practice, is not how it's going to go. Because by having multiple parties, such as in Congress and the Senate, you now have to actually have the conversation to try to convince people from whatever is the quote unquote moderate of that conversation to come to your side.
I think the way that it would actually be implemented, if it was done correctly, and this is totally hypothetical, would be you would have to develop a party that are normal people with brains that can withstand scrutiny and strict logic and test debates. Like all the conversations that don't happen in Congress should come from that group. And if you don't follow that line, then you clearly don't get represented on any level. Because if it comes down to debates, the people that are going to end up in the America First category are going to be exceptionally good at it, and people will not want to debate them.
Yeah, I in theory that sounds amazing. The only problem is that the amount of people inside the United States who have the intellectual capacity and the capability to do what you just said is so infinitesimally small. Primarily because everyone has been basically indoctrinated to think how they feel versus logic. Not to say that can't change and they can't shift back, but
if you were to want to repeal the 19th, you'll need a new party to do that. Because Democrats aren't going to pick that up, because they've ran their entire message on women's rights and feminism. They can't pick it up. They'd be complete hypocrites.
And the right won't pick it up.
Republicans can't because they're retarded and slow. It's okay. I'm a Republican. At least I think I am. I used to be.
Yeah, I'm a true moderate. Because there's things, like I said before, positions on both sides that I agree with and disagree with. So.
I don't belong to either party. I'm going to pick which one is going to make the most sense. I don't really care left or right.
I'm a registered Republican because I want to be able to vote in the primaries for the Republicans. But I'm a true moderate. But
all right, so
that's just
it's a lot to think about. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. I think that's a good spot to end it, actually. Do you agree?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, to everybody that was checking in this specific segment, how do you feel in this situation if you were presented where you could decide what happens to the 200 people trapped in the tunnel? Do you let them live? Do you let them go? Leave a like, follow, subscribe, hit us in the comments. And yeah, we'll just get out of here. And Brewer has given up on giving me any pushback on the saying. So we'll wrap things up saying that, let's see, what is it? Be the rising tide. Let's see.
Be the tide that rises those around you, because sometimes
Be
we just need a little
be
bit of
the,
help.
be the sinking rise to wave all the ships around you.
I'm just going to facepalm.
Goodbye, everybody.
About face desk.